We begin in Romania, in an antiquities museum in Bucharest. Two men are negotiating the possession of an antiquity, but the director of the place has already arranged for the transportation of the ancient relic to New York. They go to the center of the museum and observe the artifact, which consists of parts of a very old suit of armor, and engraved on it is a sword that belonged to Attila. It is believed that such a weapon, called the Sword of Mars, when wielded, would grant unlimited powers to the bearer. However, all of this was thought to be just a legend, since the man who was so powerful was killed by his companion on the wedding night. The men talk about the relic when suddenly some thieves burst through the glass ceiling, quickly killing the security guards and taking the men hostage. However, it is revealed that Marcus Curter, the interested party in the artifact, is a former military man who served in the American Special Forces, but now is with the thieves. He orders the director to open the protection of the relic. Just as the man was about to type the code, he triggers the alarm, alerting the military outside. One of the thieves kills the man and leaves Curter irritated, as they needed the director's knowledge alive. While a shootout occurs at the location, Curter opens the compartment using a small explosive. They then start their escape from the location and go to the roof, where a helicopter was already waiting for them. The scene shifts to the museum in New York, where we meet Samantha, the organizer who was preparing the presentation of the relic that will be in 2 days. Her troubled brother, Zach, arrives to visit her. However, she knows he's not really there to see her, except to ask for something. He asks for his sister's help, saying he needs money to pay off a debt he made with not very understanding people. Wanting to get her brother out of trouble, she helps him and offers her residence for him to stay there. She receives a call from her assistant in Romania, but learns about the theft of Attila's armor and the death of her professor and director of the location. After mourning the death of her friend, Samantha is outside the museum when Jake, an agent from the American Defense Department, introduces himself to her. They talk a bit about the robbery incident, and Jake questions the historian about why someone would want to steal the armor. Samantha hesitates to speak, as for many this is a legend, something impossible to be real. She says that the sword engraved on Attila's armor has writings that could identify the location of the real sword. The historian recounts that the story said that the warrior made a deal with the devil so that the creature with 3 canine heads and a serpent in place of its tail, called Cerberus, would protect him. And taking his old sword with him, the evil one granted him unimaginable powers by transforming the old weapon using the fires of hell, making him invincible, consequently turning him into a conqueror through victories. Samantha says that after the warrior Attila's death, he and his sword returned to hell, where it was guarded by the creature Cerberus. Rumors circulated stating that tomb raiders reached the place where Attila's bones and sword were, but before they could leave the cave, they were surprised by the demon dog that killed them, keeping guard over the location. Jake is doubtful if it's true, but from the stories believes that the thief of the armor is after the sword and its power. After the historic meeting, Samantha returns home to meet her brother, but upon arriving, she finds everything messy, and her brother Zach is not there. The phone suddenly rings, and when she answers, she discovers that her brother has been kidnapped. The enemy demands her cooperation, otherwise, he will kill Zach. She offers to pay off her brother's debt, but ends up being instructed to get her passport. She goes down and gets into the vehicle that was waiting for her. Her destination is Bucharest, to a house far from the city. There she will meet Curter's boss, Mr. Leo Sang. Upon bringing the historian's brother, Curter receives the payment, but his companion, after making several mistakes, including killing the professor and a man with vast historical knowledge, is punished with death by his leader. Leo Sang releases his fierce dogs, which attack the man, who cannot do much for himself. Later, Samantha disembarks at the airport, and one of Leo Sang's subordinates greets her and asks her to get into the car. On the way, he instructs her to do everything as requested, and at the end, she and her brother will gain their freedom. However, along the route, an unknown car begins to follow their vehicle, and the driver initiates a getaway route. Not long. After leaving the road, they have to stop due to lack of path for the car, and then a shootout begins. Amidst the confusion, Samantha exits the car and runs in fear while the driver takes off in another direction. Samantha hides from the man who searches for her, but when she tries to escape once more, Jake appears and reassures her, stating that they are friends and are there to help her. The accompanying agents are Burke and Willis, who have lost sight of the enemy driver. Jake and Burke leave that location, heading to another place with the researcher, and on the way affirm to Samantha that they will help her, but she first needs to help them. Minutes later, Jake shows that Liu Sang is the real enemy. He is a former Korean general who was stripped of his position but took many soldiers with him. That's why Jake was ordered not to allow the enemy to achieve his goal, even if it is possibly something symbolic. It was taken into consideration that men had relics and objects in which they placed their beliefs and caused great evils in the past. Samantha wants to know about her brother's security, but Jake tells her that the enemy has a small arsenal of nuclear bombs, and the concern is to find what he so desires before he thinks he has the power to use them because of the relic. Agent Jake shows some photos taken of the armor and the writings before they were stolen. And based on that, Samantha decides to help, for besides the deceased professor, she is the only one who can translate. The scene shifts to Liu Sang's house, who was awaiting Samantha's arrival with Carter. The driver arrives without the woman and is confronted by his leader, Carter. The man says it was an old acquaintance of Carter who disrupted their plan, Agent Jake Adams. However, the driver claims that he managed to place a tracker before losing the woman. Later, already at night, Samantha talks with the agents and states that they will head for the Strajero village, at the foot of a mountain where it is said that the entrance to the realm of Hades is guarded, but also the creature Cerberus guards the entrance along with Attila's tomb. Upon arriving in the village, Samantha reads in the writings that says that in the house of Arsis Abisu, the despicable Cerberus watches the entrance. Looking up at the mountain ahead, they notice a large ancient castle, so they quickly head to the location. The historian reads that cursed will be he who crosses the gate, and soon will be in hell. The group decides to climb one of the entrance towers, and then descends inside shortly after. Jake goes ahead into one of the tunnels, and ends up being hit by darts, and they do not know for sure if they are poisoned, since they have been there for hundreds of years. Willis calls them, as he found something. A wall with the shadow of a cross. This indicated something related to what was written. They then begin to break down the wall, hoping to find something behind it. Samantha also helps with the excavation, and hours later they break through the obstacle. The group finds a large chamber and soon descends to the lower level, leaving Willis as support up top. A little ahead, they find the entrance to what they've been searching for, but there are 3 doors, 2 of which are traps. On the floor in front, there is a circle with 5 pressure stone plates, with animals carved on them. However, one must be chosen to activate the entry mechanism. When reading the writings, Samantha chooses the right floor, and the middle door opens. Upon entering the protected secret chamber, they discover the tomb of the warrior Attila. Meanwhile, Willis was waiting for the rest of the group, but Carter and his henchmen surprise him and knock him out. Minutes later, as soon as Jake opens the ancient sarcophagus, Carter appears and takes the group hostage. He then takes the Sword of Mars and mocks the others. He returns Samantha's brother, but seriously wounds Willis with the sharp blade of the sword. He then blows up the entrance, leaving the group trapped inside, where the oxygen will not be enough for long for everyone. As soon as Carter exits, something incomprehensible enters his body. When he and his men try to leave, the 3-headed creature emerges from a portal and attacks one of them. Carter is pulled back by his friends and begins to flee the location, not understanding what he has just seen. In the obstructed chamber, while the agents try to clear the entrance, Samantha searches for another exit, knowing that the ancient builders did not only construct the main entrance. Burke clears a gap and observes the exterior, and sees no one but is almost attacked by one of the beast's heads. At that moment, they realize that what legend and myths said is real. The agents block off the entrance and then help Samantha when she discovers something beneath Attila's bones. Burke lifts a stone block and finds an entrance to an underground tunnel. The group then quickly enters the tunnel before being attacked by the monstrous creature. Outside, Carter destroys the group's vehicle and leaves with the sword. He calls his leader, but from now on he claims he is in charge, and he determines the negotiation. They return to the village and wait for Liu Sang in a bar. While waiting for a drink, one of the villagers, knowing where the man came from, warns Carter to return the sword, as such a theft will unleash chaos and destruction on the land. Carter does not care and pushes the man aside, knowing the legends joins the others. Back in the depths of Arsis Abisu, the group with Samantha searches for a way out, while moving away from the creature that growls ferociously. Wanting to buy time for the others, Burke decides to prepare an explosive manually, which worries his friend, but he decides to do it anyway. Minutes later, he comes face to face with the great creature Cerberus and detonates the bomb, causing rocks to slide onto the beast. However, this does not hold the creature for long, and it reaches Bunker when he reaches his friends. Consequently, the man is brutally killed by the creature of the underworld, on the other hand, and fortunately, his friends find the exit to the castle. They mourn the losses of Jake, who tries to keep standing, as he had been friends with the men for more than 10 years. He recounts his former companion Carter, who served with him, but on one of the missions acted impulsively and wrongly, causing the deaths of innocent civilians, which led to his disgraceful dismissal when Jake revealed what he had done. After that day, Carter spent some time in prison and completely distanced himself from Jake. Minutes later, they exit the castle, and with the car destroyed, they start walking to the village in search of the sword. Back in the village bar, after frightening the waitress, Carter is confronted by his companions about their payment. Suddenly, he threatens one of them with the sword, but the other with the gun threatens him too. The trio comes to an agreement, and when they lower their guard, Carter cuts off the arm of the man with the gun and kills him by stabbing him against the establishment's column. The other companion flees and hides among the bushes. Unfortunately for him, Cerberus was already waiting for him and uses its tail to finish him off. Not far from there is a group of young people camping in the wooded area, unaware that danger is very close to them. Near the site, two of them wander off for a more intimate moment. When in the moment of love, they hear a growl nearby and stop what they are about to do. Suddenly, the couple is surprised by the creature, which quickly kills them. Minutes later, while the other youths circle around the campfire, the creature appears and fiercely destroys all of them. On the way to the village, Jake stops and questions Samantha about how to defeat Cerberus, or if anyone has ever managed to conquer the creature. She says that in the tales only Hercules, son of a god, managed to defeat the beast. On the other hand, Orpheus, the being who enchanted the creature with his lyre, an ancient musical instrument. Without thinking of another option, they decide to continue heading towards the village. In the bar, after killing the owner, Carter wants to harass the young waitress again, but some villagers arrive and threaten to shoot him. Carter uses the woman as a shield and shoots the men, then frees the young girl. Just as he does this, Liu Sang arrives with some of his men and asks Carter for the sword, but he says that the legendary weapon is his, and that he no longer works for Liu Sang's society. Irritated by the breach of the agreement, the Korean shoots several times at Carter, killing him. However, Carter was holding the sword, which was said to give unimaginable powers to whoever possessed it. When Liu Sang was about to grab the sword, he doesn't realize that Carter's wounds have healed, so the man rises from the ground and kills his enemy by decapitating him. Liu Sang's henchmen shoot continuously at Carter, but he remains alive. Now, having invincibility powers, he kills the men and then goes out into the streets, where he encounters some villagers trying to stop him. However, the common men are no match for him. When Jake's group arrives at the village, they observe that Carter is harassing the young waitress on the rooftop, so Jake thinks of something and hands a grenade to Zach, telling him that he must get the sword to try to defeat the creature Cerberus. The villagers block the entrance with carts, wooden, furniture, and fire, hoping to stop the monstrosity. However, the three-headed creature emerges and breaks through the barricade, leaping, and begins attacking the villagers. It doesn't take long for Jake to get trapped in a dead-end alley and almost gets found. Fortunately, Zach uses the grenade and lures the beast away from his friend. He and his sister get into a car, but they are attacked by the beast, which forces them both out of the vehicle. Cerberus attacks Zach and throws him against the shop window. The creature then comes face to face with Samantha. Back to Jake. He is searching for Carter but is nearly killed by a sword strike from him. He shoots, but realizes that bullets are ineffective in stopping his opponent. Carter begins to punch him continuously, and when he was about to finish him off with the sword, he manages to dodge the attack and takes the weapon from Carter's hands, then knocks him down. With the screams, the creature grabs the man and brutally kills him by tearing him in half. The sword falls into the street, and Samantha sees it. When she is about to grab it, Cerberus's tail knocks her down. Jake quickly goes down, grabs the sword, and throws it at the beastly creature. The sword pierces the beast's chest, causing its destruction in this world, and consequently, the sword disappears. After the battle, the trio reunites and thanks for still being alive.